I can't leave the domain without Sir Radzig's permission. Shame I can't swim.
pig turns up willingly for the slaughter. You're dead.
Help me, somebody. Help me, somebody.
What happened to you?
Sir, if you only knew. He told me he'd marry me, even though his mother forbade it. And then they killed him. They killed him, the dogs. And his mother told everyone it was my fault. And now I have a child and we live like beasts in the woods. And I'm left with nothing but to beg here at the roadside. God have mercy on me. Can you help me, sir? A little coin? They drive me from the village, but if I bring a groschen or two to the merchant, he'll surely sell me a little food.
Don't you want to go to Ratai? There are other refugees there. Someone will take care of you.
I know there are others there, but I think I'll be better off in the woods. Wouldn't you have a morsel of food for me, sir? I haven't eaten for 3 days. Everything I find, I give to the little ones.
Food? Let me see. What about this?
Thank you, sir. May God bless you.
Hey, look out! Lout!
deigns to grace us with his presence.
I was looking for that boy and
And you didn't bother telling anyone.
I had to follow the trail before it went cold.
And what if some bandit skewered you and left you for dead? We'd never find you because you told no one where you were going. How would I explain that to Sir Radzig, eh? I really don't know, my lord. He disappeared without saying a word to anyone. Never crossed my mind he wanted to get himself killed.
I...
Silence! Keep your ignorant mouth shut when I'm giving you the benefit of a veteran's wisdom. You do what I tell you, answer only when I ask, and not go roaming off whenever you feel like it. I'd like to kick your arse back to the castle and be shut of you. But it's true, you're a fucking peasant who knows nothing about soldiering, and it's my job to whip you into shape, so I'm not done with you yet. God have mercy on you if you ever try anything like that again. If you're lucky, I'll only have you whipped and clapped in the stocks, because if I get my way, you'll be hanged for desertion. I hope we've got that out of the way, and I've made myself absolutely clear. And now, let's hear what you...
I talked to Ginger and found out what happened.
Out with it, then.
Ginger fled because he recognized one of the raiders. He was afraid they'd come back to silence him.
Well, he was right. They were asking about him. So who did he recognize?
He didn't know his name. Some fellow with a limp from Ujits.
All right. Since you've gone this far, you may as well ask around at Ujits. We've enough to do here in these parts anyway. Sir Radzig will tell you about it. He said to send you to him if you haven't already been.
The Lord be praised. What brings you to me?
Sir, I've been to Ujits, and the parish priest there is very odd indeed. He's very handy with a sword. Do you know anything about him, sir?
Godwin? Aye, an intriguing fellow. He's the youngest son of one of the lords of Kuttenberg. He was sent to the university to become a priest, as is customary with the youngest son. But he didn't much care for it. So when he finished studying, instead of taking up his parish, he went roaming. I imagine he had a pretty adventurous life. And then one day he came back and settled down. Hanush would know more about him.
My lord, I managed to find a clue to the whereabouts of the bandits.
Excellent. Bernard already told me what's been happening, but I'd like to hear it straight from the horse's mouth.
The whole story, or just the gist of it, sir?
It's up to you what you consider important.
One of the Neuhoff stable boys, a lad they called Ginger, fled from there and hid out with some charcoal burners. I have to say there's a lot of them around. I never thought how many forges and ironworks they have to supply.
That's true, but keep to the point.
Oh, yes, sir. I had quite a job finding him. He was well hidden and with good reason. The bandits wanted to kill him because he recognized one of them.
Did he tell you what happened?
He said it wasn't one gang, but two. And one of them took fright when the slaughter started. Seems they were only interested in loot, so they quarrelled with the other lot. Then it came to a skirmish in the woods and one of them was killed. And the rest of them scattered.
And did you find out where they went?
All I know is one of them is from Ujits. I know enough about him to be able to track him down.
All right, but those cutthroats must know who he is too, right? And if they want to get revenge on him or silence him, you'd better hope they don't get to him before you. So drop everything and get on his trail. Find out what he knows and then report back to me. I'm going to our encampment at Merhayed to oversee the security of the region.
Yes, sir. Why choose Merhayed?
It's somewhat at the centre of events, isn't it? And what's more, there's another stud farm there.
Sir, do you think they're going to try the same thing again?
I shouldn't think so. Everyone will be on the alert now, but the secluded dwellings are more vulnerable. There are few people in them. They're scattered everywhere and we can't guard them all.
But the bandits won't find much silver in places like that.
There's always a groschen or two, some food and so on. Anyway, how much silver did they get from slaughtering those horses?
True. If they'd stolen them, they could have sold them. Those were fine animals.
Exactly. It's not about the silver. It's about something else.
But what?
Creating fear. Such great terror that you won't even squeak when they come to cut your throat. Never mind raise your hand against them. Fear that will root you to the spot, staring like a rabbit entranced by a stoat, waiting for the death blow to fall. Helpless to do anything about it.
I have some news about the investigation, sir.
Good. Tell me.
The trail leads to Uzhitz. I found out one of the bandits is from there, a fellow they call Limpy Lubosh.
I see. What else?
That's all I've found out so far, sir.
All right. Come back and report to me as soon as you learn anything new.
What are you doing here?
Good health to you.
I'm looking for a fellow who lives here, but I don't know his name. Do you know anyone with a limp?
Aye, there is one fellow with a limp. Can't imagine what you'd want with the likes of him, but that's your affair. He lives in a cottage on the edge of the village by the road to Neuhof.
Move along, citizens. Move along. There's nothing to see here.
That's what you call nothing to see. I'd like to know what something to see looks like.
By the keys of St. Peter, this is all I need. We'll have to send word to Sir Hanush.
That might not be necessary.
Who are you?
I'm Henry of Skalitz, in the service of Hanush's Captain Bernard. I'm investigating the attack at Neuhof, and I think this could be related.
Well, I'm the bailiff of Auschwitz. And I say we don't want any of that kind of trouble around here. What makes you think this has anything to do with Neuhof?
One of the folk at the stud farm recognized someone from Auschwitz among the bandits.
We have no bandits or murderers around here.
Really? They say he had a limp?
Shit. Well, allow me to introduce you to Limpy Lubosh. Or all that's left of him.
Sakra. Nothing's ever easy. I'll have to take a look around and ask a few more questions, if that's all right with you.
You can take this mess off my hands and welcome to it. As for what else there is to find out, I don't know. But look and ask all you like.
Who was Limpy Lubosh?
A poor crofter and a scoundrel. Can't say I'm too surprised what happened to him. He kept company with all sorts of vermin. He was always getting into some kind of trouble. Punch-ups in the tavern and what have you.
How come he limped?
He got that from some villainy or brawl a long time ago.
Has he been up to anything suspicious lately?
I don't know. The last few days he didn't go anywhere. He was home the whole time. But he always kept everyone in the village at arm's length.
Did he have any kith or kin in the village?
None. A loner he was. I don't know the last time I saw him with anyone.
Do you happen to know where he was on the night of the Neuhof raid?
I've no idea. He kept his distance from other folk, so you never knew if he was away or holed up at home.
When did you find the body? And did anyone see anything?
Just now, and nobody saw or heard anything. I don't know how they could gut him like that without someone hearing him scream.
Another thing about Lubosh. The parish priest here in Ujits, he's a peculiar sort of cleric. I noticed he's quite handy with a sword.
He is indeed. He's as hard as nails. More than once he's intervened in a brawl in the tavern and sat everyone on their asses. He's not to be taken lightly.
I doubt he acquired those skills at the seminary.
You know how it goes. The nobles send their youngest sons to study for the priesthood, and our parish priest has blue blood in him. He probably learned to fight at home before he went to university. That's how it goes with those aristocrats. But I heard something happened and he was roving the world for a while. I don't know what he got up to, though.
I've come in the name of Sir Hanish of Lipa. I'm investigating the massacre in Neuhof, and now a murder here as well. Can I ask you a few questions?
Ask away.
Who was this Lubosh who was murdered?
He was a drunkard and a beast, and lazy too. Idle hands are the devil's tools.
Have you noticed anything suspicious recently?
The only thing seemed suspicious was how a rogue like him suddenly started going to church. Now I see why, of course.
Do you know what Lubosh was doing the day Neuhof was raided?
What do I care about that scoundrel? I was glad he stayed out of my way.
Do you know who Lubosh used to spend time with? Kin or friends?
He was always a loner. Except lately he started talking to the parish priest of all people.
That's all. Thank you. I've come in the name of Sir Hanish of Lipa. I'm investigating the massacre in Neuhof, and now a murder here as well. Can I ask you a few questions?
I don't know how I can help you, but ask if you must.
Who was this Lubosh who was murdered?
You could see at first glance he was no good. I kept well out of his way.
Have you noticed anything suspicious recently?
There wasn't sight or sound of him for a long time, and then yesterday he turned up at the church and even talked to the parish priest. I never saw him do that before. Probably had a bad conscience.
Do you know what Lubosh was doing the day Neuhof was raided?
I don't think he was home. I didn't see him all day.
Do you know who Lubosh used to spend time with? Kin or friends?
As far as I know, he had nobody at all in this world.
That's all. Thank you.
God bless.
A good day to you. What do you need?
I've come in the name of Sir Hanish of Lipa. I'm investigating the
Of course, ask away.
That man Lubosh who was...
He was a drunk who was always looking for a fight.
Have you noticed anything suspicious recently?
Well, now I think of it, I don't...
Do you know what Lubosh was doing the day Neuhof was raided?
I've not a clue.
Do you know anyone Lubosh used to spend time with?
He was a loner.
That's all. Thank you.
What are you doing?
Jesus, look where you're going.
God be with you.
I've come in the name...
Of course.
That's all. Thank you. Lord above, they did a hell of a job on him. Must have been agony. How come no one heard anything? Lord above, they did a hell of a job on him. What's this? Looks like someone's hit him very hard on the head. Could they have bludgeoned him to death and then gutted him? That would explain why he didn't scream. Nothing here. Nothing here. Judas. Looks like this is meant to be a warning. But for who? And why? Maybe the gang had a falling out. But a bandit who knows how to write isn't something you see every day. Armour? Well, it seems Lubosh wasn't your everyday crofter. And judging by the bloodstains, it looks like he lived the way he died. Nothing here.
I'll be with you.
I've come in the name of Sir Hanush of...
I don't know nothing about it.
That man Lubosh who was murdered.
I didn't really know him.
Have you noticed anything...
Come to think of it, he was in... I was wondering what he was up to take to the fight all of a sudden. But...
Do you know what Lubosh...
I was coming from the tavern very late that night, and I caught a glimpse of someone entering the village. He looked like he was in a hurry. It was only a shadow against the sky, but after what happened, I wouldn't wonder...
Do you know anyone
Not with anyone from the village. He used to say...
That's all. Thank you.
Good day to you.
Hey, watch it. I remember you.
My respects to you.
Is there anything suspicious going on in these parts?
Indeed there is. Around here, you should hear about what Vashek the groom has been up to at the stables. When the head groom told the lads here, they fell off their seats laughing.
Is there anything suspicious?
Nothing out of the ordinary.
I've come in the name of Sir Hanish of
I don't know how I can help.
That's all. Thank you.
My respects to you.
God be with you.
The blessings of our good Lord be with you, Father. I'm here in the name of Sir Hanish of Lipa, investigating the massacre at Neuhof, which seems to be connected to a murder here. Can I ask you a few questions?
It seems Sir Hanush is employing children as investigators. But ask as you wish, boy. I hope this nasty business will be cleared up quickly.
Did you know Lubosh? What was he like?
Bit of a lost soul. Simple, rough fellow, but at heart I don't think he was such a bad person.
Did you notice anything suspicious recently?
My child, all sorts of suspicious things have been going on recently. People like Lubosh don't know what to do about it, and sometimes they do stupid things.
That's really not a lot of help to me, Father.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Do you know what Lubosh was doing on the day Neuhof was raided?
Unfortunately, I do know, and I'd like to help you with your investigation, but I can't.
What?
I'm bound by certain vows that forbid me to tell you.
Vows more important than catching dangerous murderers?
There are laws of God above the laws of man, son, and one of those is the sanctity of the confessional.
Father, surely you can't be serious. There must be situations in which you can make an exception.
There are things that apply always, no matter what the circumstances, and this is one of them.
But Lubosh is dead. You can't hurt him, but if you don't tell me, more innocent people may die.
If I told you, I would be betraying a vow that's a cornerstone of the Holy Church. If people believed the sanctity of the confessional couldn't be trusted, the consequences would be even worse than that.
Worse than the death of innocent Christians? Worse than the murderer escaping punishment?
No one escapes punishment.
Father, Lubosh was my only lead to the Neuhof raiders. Only he could tell me who was responsible for that massacre. If I don't find out who it was, it will probably happen again. Surely you wouldn't want that.
I wouldn't. But I can't betray the sanctity of the confessional. I'll tell you what. Give me some time and I'll try to think up some way of helping you. Suppose we talk it over in the evening, in the tavern, over a cup of good wine. Maybe we'll come up with something.
All right. Thank you, Father.
This isn't a job.
Jesus! Look where you're going!
Good day to you.
Hey, look out! Lout.
tankard of ale from me. I'd like a beer.
I'll bring it right away. Here, just as you ordered. Here, just as you ordered.
Here's the women. Good harvest. Bless them.
Slopped all over again. I've only got 2 hands.
One ale, please.
Hi, I'll be back in 2 shakes.
One ale, please. I'd like a
I've
beer.
only... Here. Got it for you right here. Coming.
All the best.
Pour me an ale.
Here we are. Hi, I'll be back in 2 shakes.
Pour me an ale. Pale as usual. Pour me an ale.
What are you doing? My pleasure.
I'm sorry I can't tell you everything, but maybe we can work something out. But first, I'd like to hear something about you, my son. With whom do I have the honor? Where are you from?
I'm from Skalitz.
Oh, I'm sorry. What about your kin?
They're dead.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Here, we'll drink to them. It must have been terrible.
It was terrible. It seemed so pointless. We had no warning. They just appeared and began the slaughter. God knows why. They killed anyone who didn't make it to the shelter of the castle. My parents, my girl, even the Deutsch who was on Sigismund's side. I didn't make it to the castle. I wanted to try and help my parents, but there was nothing I could do. Then I fled to Talmberg with the Cumans on my heels. They almost killed me. They slaughtered people in the surrounding villages. There was a pile of bodies in front of the church in Rovna. Folk who tried to take refuge there, but they...
My poor child. May God grant them eternal rest. And how did you come to get this assignment? I'd have expected Sir Hanish to send that old grouch, Bernard.
He did, but I found a witness and the trail led here to Ujitz, so he sent me here to follow it up.
Ah, well, congratulations. It's nice to see someone using their head to find things out instead of torture. We'll have to drink to that. Now the most important thing. What actually happened at Noel? The good folks hereabout are saying all kinds of terrible things, but I take most of it with a pinch of salt.
As you wish.
The rumours aren't exaggerated this time, unfortunately. The Neuhof stud farm was raided by bandits, but they didn't come to pillage or even take the horses. They only wanted to kill. They maimed the horses and slaughtered some people. I'm sure they would have killed more, but the bandits quarrelled among themselves and broke off the attack. And judging by what's left of our Lubosh, they're still settling accounts.
I see it's every bit as bad as people claimed. Dreadful. Well then, here's to those poor souls who had to die so pointlessly and so terribly.
I've told you all about me. Now it's your turn, Father. You don't look much like our parish priest at home. I noticed you're pretty handy with a sword. I wouldn't expect...
You know what they say.
But this is a bit more mysterious than others.
Let's just say I haven't always been a priest. Fate led me to places where affairs were settled by force. These days, of course, it's just a bit of exercise to keep me in shape.
Well, we've had an agreeable chat, but now let's get down to business. So, about this confessional seal. Do you really want more innocent people to die?
Henry, that's not how it works. There are matters in which you can't make exceptions because if you do it once, you'll forever be tempted to do it again. If people stop believing in the church because their confessional secrets are betrayed, they won't trust anyone, and that's worse than even the most hideous crime.
I understand, but that means I've reached a dead end. Those cutthroats will strike again, and I can't stop them.
Chin up, lad. I might have a solution.
What?
If I tell you what Lubosh told me, I'd be betraying the confessional secret. But, first thing tomorrow, I'll try something I think might help you.
Word of honor?
On my soul.
And good health.
I always wondered about the things a priest tells his congregation. Where on earth do you get the ideas for your sermons?
Well, Ujits isn't Prague. It's not enough to instruct people. They have to be entertained, too. If I only read from the Bible, I'd soon be preaching to an empty church.
Our priest wasn't exactly a bard. So what do you preach to your flock about?
It has to be something topical. Condemning vices. And, of course, describing them in detail. The tongue-lashing about the two popes goes down well these days. And stories from real life, with a nice moral to them, are popular as well. Especially if they're about fornication and similar scandalous vices.
Can you give me an example?
Well, recently a priest by the name of Jan Hus started preaching in Prague, in the Czech language, and the people liked it. I hear he always has a full house. A journeyman who heard him told me what Hus is preaching, and I like the sound of it. I'm thinking about putting it in my own repertoire.
What's so amazing about it?
The preaching of Master Jan Hus about Mother Church. The lamentable wealth in which the church is drowning has turned to poison, and nearly the whole of Christendom is contaminated. Just like a flock of hungry ravens, they settled on this land to devour every grain of gold and silver. They know no mercy. Their hearts are corrupted by longing for wealth, and they shamelessly profit from everything. You want to baptize a child? Pay. You want to steal and murder? Pay and you will have absolution. What if the devil himself were to pay? Would he ascend to heaven too? With such money gained from the poor, they buy beautiful horses to ride and needless servants to pamper them. They gamble at dice and dress their whores in expensive furs. While Jesus Christ walked barefoot and had no place to lay his head. Look to your consciences, you robbers of the poor, for you are seen by God and his people too. Amen.
Well, this Jan Hus character is quite a rebel.
Oh, the congregation will love it.
I don't doubt it.
Let's drink to that.
Funny. That last bit reminds me of someone.
What do you mean? My situation's completely different. Huth preaches against the prelates and the clerics who are robbing the poor. Look at me. I don't have a pot to piss in. I'm no better off than the folk I preach to. I'm one with them in poverty and suffering and everything that troubles them. I drink with them and curse those stuffed habits in Sasau Monastery.
Don't you think it's a bit odd when someone boozes and lives in sin with a woman and then criticizes the Pope for debauchery?
No, I don't.
What do you think of this Jan Hus?
He's certainly a wise man. A little overzealous for my taste. If he got out of Prague and came here for a look, I'm sure he'd stop condemning drinking and lying with women.
Where can I find out more about his teachings?
You like it? I copied down some of his sermons. If you're interested, you can read them at my presbytery.
What do the common folk think of it?
They like it. They're happy to hear someone say what they think themselves, but are afraid to say aloud. Things that make them angry. And they're calling for change. In a few years, it'll have grown beyond control. You mark my words, the people will rise up, and the church will be shaken to its very foundations.
Yeah, unless they burn him at the stake first.
Nonsense. They can't burn a master of the most respected university in Europe.
Thanks for the sermon, but I think I've been morally uplifted enough. It's getting quite late. What are your plans, Father?
What do you suppose? We have a drink, of course.
Ah, that sounds like a good plan.
I knew you wouldn't let me down.
Przyszła bida mora lat, bo nie ustoi żadnej chlap. Na kraj panuje swej smutek, dodnielo i rano utek, jakiś małżeński majstrat, do wczera żylne staje prak. Už sej mojí svatý muži, nechtěl bych bejbě jich muži. Nám je to jedno a tak si dáme jedno a požerem si huby jako poslední jen. Půjďme se vámi a do rána slávy a tak vypal sudy a posaď se mi sem. Tak posaď se sem a vypal je ven. Ukaž kozy jako vozy, zítra jen tu soudnej den. Tak nalej mi hned, ať točí se svět. Enough of this!
Bailiff! Come on over here, sit down and have a drink with us.
Don't vex me again, Father. It's 3 hours past dusk, and curfew is long gone.
So what?
So, I'll have you all whipped and put in the stocks, and I'll write a letter to the bishop about you, priest.
Well, nothing to worry about then. Everyone knows the only one around here who can write is me.
Enough! Men, throw them out.
You looking for a fight? Henry, back me up.
You
over here, please.
Stop Sidiri.
What the hell are you doing?
Drink.
So, my dear, would you like to have a little ring on the bell? No sooner said than done.
I'd love to. And Henry, too, I'm sure. Right, Henry?
Stop that nonsense, Godwin. Are you out of your mind? What will people say?
They can say what they like. What do I care? What do they do to me? Watch the step, my dear. Careful, you don't hurt yourself.
Be a bit more careful.
Here we are. Look at this beauty.
Oh. We can't do this, can we?
Who says? Get ringing, wench.
This This is wonderful.
Ah, bloody oath.
And now, my dears, comes the climax of the evening.
Godwin, you old goat.
Come here.
The priest has mounted up. What do you say, Henry? Shall we take a little ride of our own? Well, I have to say that was a fine evening. Are you?
Godwin, you beast. Get up. Do you hear me? Wake up, you drunkards!
Oh, fucking hell. Where the... Oh, what the... Oh, who the hell are you? Oh, Henry. My great friend, Henry. Didn't we have a wonderful time?
Well, you certainly did, you old lecher. Now you better pull yourself together quick. You haven't much time. There's some water and something to eat on the table there, but if I were you, I would move my hairy arse before my flock eats me alive.
Oh, step on in my head. My guts. Oh, my poor suffering stomach. Oh, what was that woman on about? Before my flock eats me alive. I've forgotten something. What have I forgotten?
Where the fuck am I?
What the fuck was it? Oh. Mass! Oh shit, I have to say mass. I gotta say mass. You have to help me.
How? You're the priest.
I can't do it in this state. Maybe the liturgy. But I have to give a sermon as well. Oh, this is a disaster. They're gonna excommunicate me.
I'd like to help you, but...
You can. You can do the sermon for me.
What? So, first I investigate a murder no one wants investigated. Then I drunkenly keep the whole town up all night. And now you want me to preach at them from the pulpit? Do you want them to burn us at the stake?
No. No, I've got it. Suppose that Sir Ratzig's protege. You just came from studying in Prague. And you want to share the words of Master Jan Hus, who you recently heard preaching there. Henry, look, from what I remember, we might have overdone it a bit last night. And if the bailiff or someone else complains about me, the bishop's gonna have my guts for garters. So I'd appreciate it. Stop gaping at me like a stuffed squirrel and start helping.
You're mad. You're stark raving mad.
I'm not. It's a perfect plan. It's flawless. Oh. How about this? If you help me with this, I'll tell you who Lubosh's cronies are.
So all at once, the confessional seal isn't so sacred?
Don't mock me. I won't give you a second chance.
We'll never get away with it.
Not if you make a hash of it.
Well, all right. But I can't make any promises about what'll happen.
No, neither can I.
What do you want me to do, exactly?
I'll go and start the liturgy. Then I'll introduce you. You give the sermon I told you yesterday in the tavern, and that's that. No need to drag it out. If it turns out well, I'll tell you what I know about Lubosh.
Christ almighty. Fine then. We have a deal.
Wonderful. Let's get to it then. Hey, watch it.
Never show up. The swill.
Look at him. He can hardly walk after his capers last night.
You were with them, you beast. Just you wait.
Look at him. Mother of God. Any minute now he'll throw up.
So I couldn't sleep a wink last night with all that clamor.
In nomine Patris, et Filii, et Spiritus Sancti. Amen. Accepit panem in sanctas at venerabiles a manus suas. Hac facite in meam commemorationem. Brothers and sisters, you may have had the honor of meeting Henry from Skalitz, who is here at the behest of Sir Hanush to investigate that heinous crime at Neuha. You might not know that Henry recently visited Prague, where, by the grace of God, was able to hear Master Jan Hus from the esteemed Charles University preaching. I've managed to persuade Henry to stand here today in my stead and tell us what he heard. Because, as you all probably know, Jan Hus is a very popular preacher in Prague. So, Henry, you may begin.
Now I'm curious which one of them will puke first.
Brothers and sisters, let me get straight to the point. I'd like to talk about the church and how corrupt it is.
Boy has a cheek.
One should not believe in the church, because the church is not God. God is above all things, and the church is but a means to salvation, which the prelates do not care to hear.
He's right.
It is the corruption of God's pastors here on earth that has brought misfortune on our heads. Plague, cumens, hunger, and chaos. The accursed wealth that the church is drowning in is poisoning almost the whole of Christendom. When dogs are fighting over a bone, take the bone and they will stop. Just like the flock of ravens that has descended on this land to peck up every speck of gold and silver. They show no mercy. Their hearts are poisoned by covetousness. They trade everything. Everything is for sale. You want to baptize a child? Pay. You want to steal and murder? Pay, and you will have absolution. And the prelates sin and give themselves absolution.
For shame, shame upon them.
And what sins? They live with harlots and keep concubines? Even though only marital intercourse for the purpose of procreation is pure. If someone takes a woman or man only to satisfy their own lust, who seduces them to do so but Satan? And how much darker the sin if that man is a servant of the church? Who can turn his face to God, who fornicates and then puts on priestly robes?
Nothing we don't know about already.
Enough about sin, which the prelates are so fond of preaching about, and whose absolution they promise if you only pay enough coin to Mother Church. What if the devil himself were to pay? Will the bishops tell us he too would ascend to heaven? And what about those bishops? They sin without remorse, and with the money grasped from the poor for indulgences, they keep fine horses and hordes of servants to pamper them. They play dice and garb their mistresses in expensive furs, while Christ, the Lamb of God, walked barefoot and had nowhere to lay his head. Look to your consciences, you robbers of the poor, for you are seen by God and his people too.
Down with the prelates! Away with them!
We're fortunate to have our good Father Godwin! At least he's a fair and simple man.
God sees what is happening on earth, and he is filled with righteous wrath that those who should seek the salvation of souls instead seek mammon and the idle comfort of lucrative posts. Blessed are the shepherds who share the poverty of their flock, who are as one with you and bear with you the burden of this earthly pilgrimage, who do not condemn your venial sins.
Oi! All honor to Godwin! Let him drink like one of us!
That is all I heard in Prague. Amen.
The lad spoke well, considering what a soak he is.
He's right, that was.
The young man shouldn't drink so much, but the Lord's given him a silver tongue.
I don't suppose I'll ever get to Prague. He told him nicely.
Well, well, my boy, you have talent, and I can't deny it. And you pulled a thorn from my side. I almost didn't make it.
Yeah, I noticed. And I wasn't the only one.
Oh, what's to be done? I'll make it up somehow.
So, about our bargain.
Although it's a sin.
So gluttony and fornication.
God does forgive a penitent.
So, what did Limpy Lubosh tell you? Was he at Neuhof that day? Who was with him? And where are they now?
Now, slow down. I'm sorry, but he didn't tell me that much.
Don't let me down after all I've been through. For you...
Well, now Lubosh came to me shortly after it happened. His conscience was gnawing at him. And I must say, in the end, he turned out to be a better man than he looked. He said they'd been hired through some crony of theirs.
And at first they were just to steal some horses. But then it all turned sour and people started getting killed. And neither he nor his cronies wanted anything to do with that. So they fell out from the gang and fled.
Fell out? Yeah, there was a body found in the woods by Neuhoff.
That would explain something. Lubos kept jabbering that he wasn't a murderer, that he didn't want to do it.
So I know that Lubos killed the murderer and he's dead too. The trouble is, I need to find the ones who are still alive. I need names and places. Did he mention any of the others?
Only nicknames. Talked about some fella called Riki from Ledechko, Pius, Timmy.
Pius. That lot are about as pious as I am ordained.
Nonsense. You would make an excellent priest. And anyhow, with your skills, you ought to be able to sniff out this Riki from Ledechko, right?
Well, we'll have to now. There's not much else to go on. Let's hope he's not hanging from the wall too.
Indeed. And I'd hate to be excommunicated for nothing. Anyhow, good luck. You watch out for yourself. These people clearly mean business. And I'd like to raise a tankard with you again sometime.
Yeah, I'll try. Although I'm not sure I'd survive another night of your debauchery.
And if anyone should ask, you heard nothing from me. I'll deny everything.
I don't doubt it. Again. I enjoyed it last time.
Hey, is someone there?
Boys.
What are you doing here?
Aren't you the cur that owes Peshek money? Until you pay up, you best stay away from every mill.
What are you doing?
Can you tell me...
That's all. I've got the money to pay that debt.
And I was afraid you had a chamber pot for a head. Hand it over. That job's still going, if you're interested.
Sure, I'm on it.
What? No, go away.
I've brought you something.
Oh, how lovely. Thank you.
Would you like to get up to some more mischief? It was fun the last time.
Yes, it was. I'm a bit surprised you thought so too. Although a girl doesn't get a chance to tend the wounds of a gallant defender every day. Shall we play blind man's buff?
That's really what you want to do?
I know it's a game for children, but I always liked it, and I won't feel stupid playing it with you.
All right, why not?
Good. Then follow me.
Hey! Hey, look out! Doesn't even know how to apologize. Nobody will see us here in this barn.
Are you shy?
It's a game for little children. Of course I'm embarrassed.
Well, adults play it too, you know.
But only when they're drunk.
I'll cover my eyes.
Well, they do say love is blind.
Cheeky boy. But this is a game you won't be winning. I've got ears sharper than a bat.
And I'm as stealthy as a cat. You'll never find me.
We'll see. But if you leave the barn, you lose. Come here. Come on, spin me around. What are you waiting for?
Blind I may be, deaf I'm not. Make a sound, and you'll get got. How does it go after that?
It doesn't matter. Go and hide.
I bet you're here. No? Where are you? Here? Ha! Got you. What was that? Was that... You're a sneaky one. How come I didn't hear you? Oh no! I've left clothes out to dry. We have to bring them in before they get soaked.
Be a bit more careful.
Oh no, it's completely soaked.
You'll have to put it by the stove to dry.
No, that would just make it reek of smoke. Help me bring it to the hay.
It's sopping wet.
Not afraid of thunderstorms, are you?
Not anymore.
Shouldn't we spread the linen out?
Henry, hush now.
What is it?
Good health to you.
Can you tell me something about the other millers?
There's a couple of other fellows around here in my trade. Wojciech in Kohelnitz and Simon in Sassa.
Tell me about Wojciech.
He's young and hot-blooded, with a short temper. But he's a fine fellow when you get to know him. His heart's in the right place, and he's always willing to lend a helping hand. Unfortunately, he got himself into a feud with that usurer, the merchant Wolfram Pruder. A slimy bastard he is. And now they're sworn enemies.
What about this Simon in Sasau?
An odd one he is. A loner who don't talk much. But he's as dogged as a hunting hound once he gets his teeth into anything. He won't let go until he sees it through, even if he has to walk over dead bodies.
Tell me something about yourself.
There's nothing much to tell. I was born at the mill, I live here, and I'll surely die here. But before I do, I've plenty of work to do, and I hope I live to see peace in this land again.
Can you tell me...
What's the local lord like?
Sir Hanush? He treats his people well, but he's tough as an old oak. The way things are these days, I wouldn't wonder if he and his men started kicking some asses.
What's Sir Hans Capon like?
Ah, that worthless dandy. Sir Hanush has to knock some sense into him, or I dread to think...
Do you know Sir Bernard, the Rat-Eye captain?
He's a grumpy bastard, but...
What about the Skalitz folk?
God sent them to punish us for our sins. They don't work, they just idle around begging. And you want to keep a close eye on your belongings when they're around. I'll be glad to see the back of them.
What do you think about everything that's happened?
I don't concern myself with the doings of my betters. But this mess isn't good for business. Them two brothers should sort things out between themselves without dragging us into it. I don't give a damn who's king, but that usurper from Hungary has gone too far.
Do you know anything about those Cumans?
The heathen scum that Sigismund brought here. Why do you even ask? You've seen with your own two eyes what they're capable of.
That's all.
Want to earn a bit of coin? And it's safe as houses. Hey!
Fucking
watch it!
come on then!
Gone weak at the knees, have you?
Good day.
I'd like you to teach me how to be better at stealth.
Are you pulling my pizzle? You want me to teach you after what you did here?
Hey, Lord Almighty.
I'd like you to teach me how to be better at stealth.
Are you pulling my pizzle? You...
Still
What
quite
is it?
hungry.